Withum's video series, The Alternative Route. Here with me today is Richard Bello, founder and CEO of Aruta, consulting firm focusing on advisory and coaching services for alternative investment funds. Richard, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, Colleen.
So it's great to have you, and you really have a unique perspective being able to draw from your experiences in both public accounting, prime brokerage, hedge fund operations, and now advisory. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges and observations you have with respect to winning the war on talent in the alternative space. So why do you think so many financial services firms struggle to implement a structured hiring process?
Well, I think it comes down to people don't really see the value until it's too late. Inside these firms, and they hire the wrong person. Nobody likes to terminate anybody, so they may stick with somebody 20 years. If they're pretty good. I don't want a pretty good firm. I want an awesome firm. I want the top people. So people just get busy with their own normal activities. They don't like to see an interview on their schedule, right? And there's no better ROI than an interview and finding the right people. So it's usually a rushed process, outdated methods. It's why I wrote a book on it for my own discipline. I wanted to make sure that I was disciplined in finding the best people. So I wrote a book, The Talent Acquisition Principles, started a business in it, really, again, because I wanted to be an expert in talent acquisition. I realized how important it is. You want to hire the right people. I remember somebody was telling me a story, a coach of mine was telling a story, just give the brief synopsis of it, where they were at an event at some hotel, the Hyatt Hotel, and the coach called over let's call it Mr. Hyatt. It's like, you have the most amazing people working for you. It's like, what is your training plan? How are you developing these people? And Mr. Hyatt said, well, Tony, we actually don't have a training plan. We just hire the right people. So that kind of hit me really hard. It's like, ooh, so I wanted to be, I just wanted to be in that business and really understanding it. So it's really treated as a reactive process as opposed to some real deep, structured, repeatable system. And a lot of firms just don't have the internal resources on the alternative investment front. They don't have these giant resources, giant amounts of resources to do it. So this is why I like consulting in this area. Is why we also are in this business, because I know how deeply important it is.
And I guess, why don't financial firms invest more in talent development? And what do you think the impact of that is on the firms?
So I think a lot of the smarter firms do invest in talent development, like a Withum. They understand how important it is. If you look at some of the larger funds, the more successful funds like a Point72 or Millennium, they invest in it, or Citadel. They understand how crazy important it is. The reason a lot of firms don't, is they don't see the immediate ROI. Right? We are programmed for immediate gratification. They don't see this immediate ROI. I was just looking at some statistics this morning that coaching and talent development yields a 5 to 7 times return on the investment in the cost of the coaching. So I really feel like people, and I've talked to some other folks about this, they just don't see the immediate ROI. And they're investing in so many different things. These are investment firms. They invest in so many different things. It's just hard to see it numerically. These can be more soft type skills and soft type KPIs.
It is. We talk a lot about ROI, but it is a long game. Why do firms take a check the box approach, you think, to goal setting instead of really seeing it as a strategic advantage?
Well, I think it's similar reason. They don't see the immediate ROI, although all goal setting is really KPI driven. They just see, okay, let's just get our goals done, blah, blah, blah. The boss wants to do the goals. But management understands this. Even if it's a formality, it needs to be a real formality. And then you make it work. So I've spent a lot of resources in this, literally millions on this. I know how important that this is. So our tools, just going back to my former firms, Tiger and Blue Ridge, it's crazy important to understand what the mission is, first of all, what the founder's mission is and what management's mission is, but you're not going to get a return on that mission unless you set goals. Goals are merely the subsets of the mission. The team has to be really clear on what the goals are. And you've got to follow through. A lot of firms talk about KPIs, but they don't utilize them. You've got to follow through. That's why I put a lot of research into this. We don't want to see goals when we're working with clients. What are your goals? What's the mission, first of all? If you don't have one, let's develop it. What are your goals? Very specific goals. I do this for my own firm, of course, as well. What are the goals at the firm's level, at the team level, and at an individual level? We do it at all three levels. And then great, goals are great, but you've got to have a plan to achieve them. You ask people, well, where's your plan? A lot of times, like, oh, you got a plan? Like, where is it? Like, oh, yeah, I got a plan. It's in my head. That's not going to work. You've got to have a written plan. So whenever we're working with clients, you've got to have a written plan, and you've got to measure it. And then that's not even the hard part. The hard part is the execution, as everybody knows, any investor knows. Execution is where it's at. So what comes with execution is accountability. That's where the coach comes in. Really, coaching, get really clear on your goals. Like, and then, okay, got to execute. Now, people just get so busy involved in their, in their lives and in their business, they don't step back and say, wait, we've got to hit our goals. We've got to hit the KPIs.
Yeah, I definitely see people struggle with being specific in something that could be measured. And then to your point, just being consistent and checking on the progress, not just when you meet with your coach to say, where are you with these goals? Oh, yeah, I have to advance the plan a little bit. So definitely very important. Just changing gears a little bit, why do you think so many firms struggle to transition their high performers from the technical roles that they're in into leadership positions?
Well, when you're in the financial services business, success at the contributor level, right? The contributor level is important, whether it's in trading, analysis, or client management. It doesn't always translate into strong leadership skills. Many firms promote these top performers, top traders, and then they promote them to manage people, and then they're like, oops, this person can't manage people. They're great at what they were doing. They're great at trading. They're great at accounting, and they're not good at managing people. We have a firm that we just signed. It was a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund with three different managers. They all have exactly the same problem. The founder sees this. And these three people can't. They promoted them. It's like, people that are working for them are not happy. They're just not doing a good job managing people. Now, these are learnable skills. You can actually learn how to do this. This is leadership. One of my, it's one of my favorite areas of working with firms to do that, to coach them, teach them. A lot of it's about communication skills. They're not good listeners. They're not good at giving feedback. They're not good at training their teams to receive feedback. Feedback is a really difficult topic, both in giving it and receiving it. People literally think that they're being physically attacked. That's the way our brains work. They think they're being physically attacked, so they shut it down, come up with all kinds of excuses as to not be open to the feedback. So it's really, really important skill to learn.
I think some of that goes back to what you're talking about, the ROI on talent development, learning some of those skills, like the softer skills, to get them ready for those leadership positions obviously matters. And
Absolutely.
how do you think financial professionals really can improve their decision making skills to stay competitive?
Well, in today's financial landscape, professionals, they're bombarded with information, but they're often lacking the structured frameworks for making these critical decisions. So without proper coaching, development, training, decision fatigue is a factor. Uh, Reactive thinking is just really common, and this can lead to really costly mistakes and missed opportunities. So again, when I study things like this, I've written 16 books. They're all 10 principles, the top 10 principles for this. I just like having it all in one place. So one of the things I talk about for making decisions is not to rely on logic. Right. I'm sorry, not to rely on intuition, but to rely on logic first. Then you can come back and say, does my intuition agree with the logic? So we have a lot of technology we're working this. We have a process teaching people how to make great decisions. It's a learnable skill. Criteria, what are your criteria? Weight the criteria. A lot of people don't weigh the criteria. What's a scoring rubric? So you make decisions based on a very logical process. Then you see if intuition agrees with it. If your intuition agrees with the decision you come up with, then you're golden. Like, we can move forward, with conviction. All of our logic, all of our scoring on a particular candidate. It's like, yeah, I thought that candidate, of the 20 candidates we interview, I thought that was the right candidate, and our scoring bears it out. Then you're not this logical scoring helps to get rid of cognitive biases, And I think the magic, at least in what we do, and this is one of the principles, is comparative scoring. So if you're interviewing candidates for instance, this can be really any decision you make, but if you're interviewing candidates for a position, you interview 20 candidates, you go through this logical process first to score them, but this is kind of on an absolute scoring basis. So then you're weeding some out. So maybe you have 5 candidates left. You've interviewed 20, you have 5 candidates left. These are the 5 that had the highest scores. This comparative scoring is so important because now you're comparing each of the candidates versus each other. And it can be work ethic, technical skills. So anybody who's interviewed them, we look at everything we've got and let's score them in each of the criteria on a comparative basis. No ties allowed. When I'm doing it, we don't no ties. It forces you to really think about it. And then you come up with a real solid score. They're ranked in order. It's like, yep, that makes a lot of sense. This is the right candidate for the job. Now you never know until all the way at the end, after you've worked with them for a while. My favorite is one last little tip on back to the talent acquisition and decision making, because I'm going through this process right now, is unlisted references. If you can get unlisted references, that's like gold. Because anybody behaves well on an interview, right? The boss too, the interviewer also is on their best behavior during it, saying, hey, who's the person that I interviewed? Where did that boss go? So this comparative scoring and unlisted references are 2 of my favorite things, especially in talent acquisition.
It's really important. One of the hardest things to do is to interview and bring in the right people. Thank you, Richard, for joining me today to discuss the talent market within the alternative investment space. And stay tuned for our next episode of The Alternative Route.
Thank you, Colleen. Pleasure. This was fun.